Mary, I read what you'd said last week about nurses, and the point I think you were making is there are many other people working in refuse collection or other areas of public services who equally do important jobs but aren't going on strike. Am I right to interpret that?
Yes, that's certainly one of the big points that I was trying to make. And I have to say that I find that the government has a case here, or at least I think it does, and I think it's not making it at all well. I don't know whether it's reticent to make it, whether it doesn't really believe in its case, but it has a case, and I don't think it's making it.
Do you think when the Health Secretary, Stephen Barclay, says that ambulance workers are making a conscious choice to harm people, is language like that useful when it comes to settling a dispute?
Well, it's obviously not useful, just as it's not useful to advise people just before Christmas that really going out and getting drunk is an irresponsible thing to do because they might have to call an ambulance. None of these things are very helpful. But the temperature has risen to the point where there are those emotions on either side. And one thing that I find very difficult to understand is why, after all these years, it's still the government that NHS workers, whether they're nurses, doctors, or ambulance people, that it's the government that they want to talk to, and they feel neglected because the government sort of won't immediately drop everything and talk to them on their terms. I don't understand why that should be. Why should they not be talking to NHS management? They seem to think they've got a sort of privileged hotline to the government, and they deserve to be spoken to by the government.
I agree with that. I have to say, I thought Stephen Barclay's comments that he would talk to the Royal College of Nursing, for example, but not about the issue they were striking on, namely pay, but other things. I thought that was wrong. So when we look at what's going on today, we will no doubt, there'll be stories in the tabloid press tomorrow of horrific wait times for ambulances, although we've had those, I'm afraid to say, pre-strike over the last year or two before. OK, I get it. You're analysing this. We've got two entrenched sides, no proper negotiations. Whose fault is it? Is it a bit of both if people die today, or do we apportion blame more to one side or the other?
I apportion blame much more to the people who are on strike. The people on strike, whether they're nurses or ambulance people, they are not a majority. More people are working than not working. I think that there should be legislation that limits the effect of strikes in what are essential public services. That includes transport, it includes nurses, it includes ambulance drivers. Those sort of regulations exist on the continent, they exist in places like France. I don't see why they shouldn't pertain in the UK as well.